What is up, course creators? Today, I'm joined by Mark Cloutier. He is one of the longtime Course Creator Pro members. He is responsible for multiple 6- and 7-figure launches. Seems like every week I go in the Facebook group, Mark is posting 7-figure launch, just past 500K, just past $1 million. He's constantly here in the Facebook group, sharing his big wins. And he mostly has 3 brands that he has helped to launch. He partners with people. He himself isn't necessarily the expert per se. He's actually partnering with other people, and he's launched a course called The Real Deal Video Strategist Club. That's done $1.6 million total. The second was Micro Content Mastery. That's done about $500,000. And the third is Power Disc Golf Academy. Also a $500,000 launch. And Mark, remind me that Power Disc Golf Academy hasn't even been a year yet. That's a recurring monthly subscription course that you guys are selling, and that's done $500,000, yeah?
Yeah, it hasn't even been a year. Yearly subscription on that. So recurs every year. We have about a 98% retention on subscriptions right now.
Amazing. So today, guys, in this video, Mark has prepared his 3 pillars of what he believes is responsible for all of these 6- and 7-figure launches. He's going to go through and talk about what he basically repeats like clockwork. It's just rinse and repeats. He just does it for all these different people he partners with. He's going to go through those 3 pillars. He's also going to talk about how he himself isn't necessarily the expert, right? Me being, Course Creator Pro, I'm a marketer. I've sold my own courses and then I go and make a course. But a lot of people, I don't think you realize, you course creators, if you don't have the talents or the skills, you can go to somebody else, partner with someone else who does have a skill set and make the course content for them, do all the back-end marketing, funnel building. That is pretty much what Mark's skill set is. He's a big Facebook ads guy and he just partners with people. So Mark, without further ado, man, let's jump into kind of those 3 pillars. You've found incredible amounts of success multiple times to the point where it's clearly not luck. What is kind of the first pillar that you feel like is responsible for these multi-6- and 7-figure launches that you do?
Yeah, the first pillar is your product is literally everything. You need to make sure you have a really good product. I see a lot of people in Course Creator Pro, a lot of people I talk to, they say, hey, I'm good at this, so I'm gonna make a course on it. And they fail to do the proper market research, being, okay, how saturated is this market? Is there actually a need for what I'm teaching, where 10 other people are already teaching it? A great example are people who basically try to make their own version of Full-Time Filmmaker without realizing Full-Time Filmmaker already owns the market, and they spend all this time and money and then they go to market and no one buys it, because why are they going to buy their product over FTF?
Yep.
So you need to spend a considerable amount of time actually validating your offer, making sure that the space needs it, that people want it, and that it's viable before you make a large investment into it. And if you have, I'd say most of the courses I've been involved with, these 3 and then a bunch of others have kind of been like a 7 or 8 out of 10, which is why they've done well. But in some other aspects of business I've been in, I have encountered like 9 or 10 out of 10 products, and they essentially sell themselves. So the better your product, the easier it's going to be to sell, which is going to take the pressure off of you to have the perfect sales funnels, the perfect systems, the perfect ads. Because at the end of the day, the product sells, not your ads, not your logo, not your funnels. People want the problem you're solving or the product you're selling.
So Mark, how do you coincide that with the fact that getting your products to market is really important, right? So you got 2 sides of it. You have to make a good product, but you also want to get it out as fast as possible and not try to perfect it. Because I see the latter being the bigger mistake, is people spend a year saying, all right, Mark said good product. And so they never get the product out. They never get any feedback, and they put their heads in the sand, not knowing if anybody wants it. And then they launch it, and then it's crickets, and like, well, shoot, that was a year I'll never get back. So how do you avoid the second issue while still making a great product?
The easiest way we've found is we just find where our ideal customer would be hanging out. So like Facebook groups, Reddit threads, Instagram, whatever, industry leaders, like we talk to people. It's literally as simple as that. Find where your ideal customer is and say, hey, what problems are you having? Where are you finding solutions? And usually what you'll see is that there are common problems. And if you find a common problem where there's a gray area on whether there's a solution or not, and people are not, like, if you say, where are you learning videography? Everyone's gonna say FTF, 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 right? But if you say something, people are like, I haven't really found a good solution. And that's resonating over and over again. And you're like, man, I have the solution. That is a winner. And that does not take very long if you're diligent enough just to go find those places and ask the right questions and have some conversations.
And to that point, even if you find a product that already exists, like Full-Time Filmmaker, we've had tons of people who figured out a pain point that Full-Time Filmmaker was not solving. For a long time, Full-Time Filmmaker filmmaker, our own product didn't do a very good job of teaching filmmakers the business side of filmmaking. And so we have people like the Real Deal video strategist.
That's literally what we did.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys are a perfect example. But instead of just making a copy of Full-Time Filmmaker, like some people in the world do, they said, hey, Full-Time Filmmaker does a good job at XYZ, but they don't fill this need. And so Mark Cloutier went out, found someone to partner with, and taught that side of filmmaking that we weren't. So they filled a need in the marketplace, making that product stellar. They talked to the people inside of, I'm assuming you probably joined Full-Time Filmmakers Facebook group when you were first launching that product, were you not?
Yeah, my partner David is a videographer for that course, and he was in FTF, and he's like, man, this course is incredible, but I'm finding there's a hole teaching the strategy and business side, so let's create that solution.
And so how did you leverage our own Facebook group? And this, we're fully aware, guys, this happens in our own Facebook groups all the time, and we love it. We have no problem. Use our Facebook groups as much as you want to use our people for your market research. Hopefully you're doing it in organic, valuable ways. You're not spammy and, annoying people. But how did you guys leverage our Facebook group, Mark, to go in and figure out the market research to build the beginnings of this really good product that's now $1.6 million in revenue later?
Yeah, so my partner, he had closed a 10K per month retainer deal for his video production company. And he started posting an FTF basically saying, hey, I just closed this deal. I'd love to share how I did it. And he got an overwhelming response in the DMs, like hundreds of people. And we just started holding Zooms. And I talked about the marketing side of it because I was his marketing partner. He talked about the video side and we both talked about the business side. And the interest was overwhelming. And at the end of the calls, people were like, do you have a course on this? And we're like, hey, we're working on it. But we just started pre-selling right then and there. So it's really as simple as just, I always say lead with value. Like never go into these groups and just say, hey, who wants to buy my thing? Blah, blah, blah. Everyone hates that. Always be respectful of group rules, like read the rules and respect the admins first and foremost, but just lead with value. And if you lead with value, the people will come to you. It may take a little longer, but it's the right way to do it. And it has a way better success rate than if you're just trying to go in and sell a product.
100%. Led with value, posted something of value that people wanted. And I'm assuming from there, you get, let's say 300 comments on that post. All you have to do is message them and say, hey, I'd be more than happy to help you out.
Exactly.
Let's hop on a Zoom call. And there you go. There's your first potential customer. Hop on a Zoom call, help them out some more, lead with more value. And then they're naturally going to ask you, how can I hire you? Can I learn more from you past a Zoom call? And that is how the sales process should feel. Whereas a lot of you are like forcing yourselves into the market. You feel really uncomfortable. You feel really salesy. And it's probably because you are being a little bit too salesy. Just lead with value, add value, and people will naturally ask you for more.
A good example, Stockton, is those screenshots you share, like the things I post in CCP. I get a lot of people messaging me asking, can you help me? And I have to kind of turn them down.
Yeah.
Because I can only focus on so many things. And a lot of times the product just isn't necessarily there.
Exactly. So like if you wanted to, Mark, you could easily underneath all those posts, reach out to those people and say, hey, yeah, I actually do offer some services. I do marketing or I take equity in companies or I've got my own course. And that's amazing. It's like, do that. Like this is your post, this is your results. I'm not going to take down your post because you make me look better. You're thanking me saying, hey, thanks to Stockton, Dakota. You guys helped me to slay it. Love you guys. Even if we didn't help you get that results, like for my ego, I'm keeping that on my Facebook group, And so
yeah, to be transparent, like that's part of the key. Like that's like one of the keys. You got to build up the admins, build up the people in the group and give them their props. So it can be a win-win for everyone. Cause then you can go use that and use this call to help sell more of your courses. I can get people to reach out to me and it's just a win-win.
100%. You guys did a $30,000 pre-launch and you had no logo, no business name. You didn't have a name for the course. There was no course content created. You guys basically launched a figment of people's imagination. It was just an offer that you launched out there with nothing to actually give them. Can you please describe that to people? Because I tell people this all the time and it like goes over their head. They're like, yeah, well, you're saying that because you're stocked and whatever. But like, I want them to hear it from somebody else of how important it is to launch something, even if it doesn't exist, to validate that it has demand. And then you can actually build off of that. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So basically how that worked is my partner, David, same guy with Real Deal, he got really into disc golf and he was like, man, why is there no course out there? So he just started DMing some of the bigger names in the industry until someone kind of bit and it took the bait. And we partnered with this guy who's a top player and just had him, he had about 70K Instagram followers. So just had him put some feelers out there. Hey, if I was to create an online academy to teach disc golf, would people be interested? It was an overwhelming yes. Okay, if I was to do this, what would you like to learn? So So basically, we just got some quick customer feedback from our ideal customers, not even customers, they were our ideal customers, really just prospects at the time. And we didn't have a name, we didn't have a logo. I built a super bare bones, simple page just with like some basic information. Here's what we plan to have. Here's a checkout page. And just had this guy start posting that. Did a little bit of a live launch where we went on a Zoom call and streamed it. And we did about 30K in that first night. And then over the course of the entire pre-launch, I think we were closer to like 70 to 80K total.
And that was before you had anything that actually existed?
Yeah, absolutely nothing. No course content, no logo. We had a different name than we have now because there was some copyright issues. But the goal was, this guy has credibility, right? He's a major player. People love him. So they're going to buy because of his reputation. And also he obviously he's won all these different pro tours, right? So they know him, they respect him, they love him. If we can get the main pain points they have just by asking them some simple questions and then tell them we're going to put something together based on his credibility, people know it's going to happen. And then we gave them some timeline. Hey, this is going to launch within the next 4 to 6 months. And then what we did that I think helped a lot is when they bought, even though there was no content in their course library, we got them in a community right away. And we started doing some giveaways. We had him go live. We did some lives, just some different stuff. So they felt like, even though they really purchased nothing, they felt like they purchased something.
Right.
Because it's a fine line to sell nothing. You need to make sure that people do feel like there is something tangible.
Yep.
And you keep giving them updates on, hey, this is when it's coming.
Well, how soon after
it's totally doable.
How soon after those first checkouts happened did you guys actually start releasing course content and saying, here it is?
It was probably like 3 or 4 months.
Wow, that's a long time.
It was a while. They hadn't even planned to film because this pro had a really aggressive schedule. So they had to film, edit. So it was several months and we just kept people updated at all times. We kept doing some giveaways, did some community stuff, had the pro show his face in the community and interact with people.
Yeah.
But it's doable.
I would say that Mark's case is a little more of an exception, right? They were able to leverage the trust that this guy had. He had a lot of authority. And so people just trusted like, hey, I know you're going to make well with my money. And so even if it takes 3 to 6 months to even give me a single course video, I trust you. For most of you, you may not be in that boat quite yet. You don't have 70,000 Instagram followers. And so if you are going to go that approach of selling a non-existent course, I would highly recommend that once you get that first couple sales, in this case, Mark did 30K, that should light a freaking fire under your butt to start making the content and releasing it as fast as you can. That's what Joe Simpson did. He's done $700,000 in the last year with his card tuning course. He, same thing, launched with 20% of his course finished with the promise that more would be coming. And then after he did 100K on his first launch, he said, all right, I need to start pumping content out fast. And he did that. Every week, he'd release a video or two, and that was plenty for people to be happy. He delivered on the promise. He did what he said he would do. He gave more content, and I think he had 1 refund out of like 400 or 500 purchasers. So everyone was happy. So can't stress that enough. With this guy, Mark, last thing I wanted to kind of hit on this with is you partnered with somebody. Your buddy, even though he was a disc golfer, he didn't make a course himself. He said, why don't I go to someone else who already has an existing following or authority in the space and partner with him? Why did you choose that instead of making it yourself?
Yeah, so I have only played disc golf a few times, and every time I play, I hit more trees than baskets. So no one's going to pay to learn from me. My buddy David, my partner, he had just started, and it was the same thing. Like, he was better than me, but no one's going to pay to learn from him. They don't know who he is.
Right.
It would take so long for us to build the credibility for anyone to pay us anything to teach them something. So we're like, man, why don't we fast track this, do a rev share with a pro who's got the following, got the wins, got the credibility, got the trust, and it's fast tracked to $500,000 in a few months of recurring subscriptions. It's just going to keep compounding year over year. So way better strategy than if we were like, all right, let's try to become good enough ourselves to where people will actually take us seriously to learn this sport. And also Stockton, like this isn't a make money offer. This is like a hobbyist offer.
Right.
It's easy to sell the make money offers because you can say, hey, you get a direct ROI. This is like, hey, invest in your hobby. So it's different finding the pain points and the ways to market that. But with the right product, and this was like a 9 or 10 out of 10 product because there's literally nothing else out there like it. It pretty much sold itself.
Well, awesome, man. Let's move into pillar number 2 of what you feel like is responsible for these 6 and 7 figure launches. You talked a lot about how you pre-launch things. You've got the core product. Let's say that's awesome. You've done your market research. You've joined Facebook groups. You know there's demand for it. What is the second pillar to ensure that you have a successful launch when you do these?
Yeah, so we do a 3-phase launch. And that goes pre-launch, pilot launch, full launch. So our main goal throughout this whole process is to make sure that we're never digging ourselves into a financial hole. Because I've talked to people who have literally spent 6 figures developing courses and then they don't sell a single course and they're in massive debt. The easiest way that I've found to avoid this is first getting into those groups, right? Adding the value, building an email list, building a list in your DMs, whatever it is, validating that people want what you have. And then you pick a date that you're going to hold some kind of live training where you're going to talk about how you solve these problems or how you close this deal or got the desired results. And then in that training, you say, hey, I've got a course coming out on this. We don't even usually have any, we have between 0 and 10% of the course done at this point. And you let people buy at a huge discount and you limit that number of people, you limit the time that they can buy in. What that's going to do is get some money in the bank and get some people in the course to consume that first 10% of the content. While they're consuming that 10%, you go and you create the next 10 to 30%. And this whole time you're getting customer feedback. It's like we talked about Stockton. Sometimes you think you know what people want and you don't necessarily know. So this is going to give you the feedback. Yep. This is going to give you that feedback. It's going to allow you to start getting people results. So then this next phase is your pilot launch. So you've got everyone in your pre-launch. You use their feedback and their results to raise the price a little bit and then go to market and say, hey, we've got, 30 to 50% done. You can still get in at a massive discount. Here's what our early adapters are saying. And this whole time you're just stacking revenue. And then you close that off. I recommend, like, when you give a deadline or you give some kind of urgency, it needs to be legit. So many people do these BS timers and they just reset and it's just scammy and people hate it and they see it. Exactly. So you hard cap that number and then you get a waiting list building up because people are talking about it. People are seeing results and you're building social proof. You're getting feedback to refine your product. And then when you go to full launch, you've got money in the bank, you've got testimonials, you've got a product that works, and then it's pedal to the metal. And that's what we do every single time. And that's allowed us to have multiple successful 5, 6, and 7-figure launches.
So I love how Mark is using the credibility that he generates for other people. Pre-launch even if it's 4 people, get 4 people in your program, get them insane results. That builds the foundation of social proof you need to do a pilot launch, as Mark calls it. And then from that pilot launch, we're getting more serious. It's like, all right, let's really develop the course. Let's get more wins, make the course more robust. And then we go into a full launch. It's like, all right, this thing's live, it's finished, it's ready. We've got tons of results here. And then it just is a perpetual, reoccurring, automated kind of system. If you guys haven't read already, Launch by Jeff Walker, he has probably the best outline I've seen for how to launch something. And it's basically what Mark has taught just now in a different kind of condensed format. But I'd highly recommend watching that book. I've personally launched 3 different multiple 6-figure launches this year, following that to a T, which is pretty much what Mark has laid out here as well. Mark, anything else you'd add on those kind of 3 phases of pre-launch, pilot launch, full launch? Probably more so focusing on the pre-launch aspects, because that's probably where most people are at right now, is how do I get that ball rolling? Especially if I had no following, let's say, right? If I had no big, existing pool of leads to dig into, how would you recommend people go about a pre-launch?
Yeah, so if you go back to what we talked about under point 1 and you've been in these Facebook groups, you've been talking to these people, you should have at least like 10, 15, 20, 50 people in your DMs that at the very least you can get them to attend some kind of live thing. So your goal really should be to build up some type of list and be adding massive value to these people while you're finalizing what your course is going to be on, to the point where they will actually get on this live training that you're going to do or this live workshop, and they'll take advantage of this discount you're going to give them. A lot of people are looking for like the perfect time to pre-launch or the perfect solution. The reality is you just need to do it. Even if nobody shows up and you don't sell any courses, if you learn something, then you can try it again until it works, right? But just do it. I had one client that I had to fire the client because I kept telling them to pre-launch and they kept looking for like the heavens to open and God to tell them exactly when and where to do it, when in reality, they just had to do it.
I would double down on don't get discouraged, guys. If that first one completely flops and you get nobody, that's where most people give up. They throw in the towel and they go, this is not for me. Course creation is not for me. It's like, guys, that should be expected. You should expect to fail a couple of times, but learn from it. It'd be such a wasted opportunity if you don't iterate based on what you learned from that failure. Don't let the failure define you and be the end of your progress and your whole process. Learn from it, change some things, do it again.
Yeah, we're here talking about these courses I've done really well, but there's certainly been courses that I've started that have fell flat on their face, right? But there's also been these ones that have made me a lot of money, right? So it's give and take. You just got to keep learning and keep reiterating and keep trying and you'll get better.
Awesome. Okay, man, let's wrap it up here with the third and final pillar that you found leads to these multi 6- and 7-figure launches.
Yeah, you got to maximize your customer LTV or lifetime value. The mistake we made when we launched our first course is we were selling like a 500 to 1K product once, and we made a lot of promises about ongoing content and deliverables so we could add value and all this stuff, right? But then people start to expect a lot, and you reach a point where you're like, man, I can only give them so much when they only paid so much, and it gets exhausting. exhausting and you get burnt out. You need to find ways to maximize the value of your customers. The main way we do this is through selling them 4 products. So the first would be an LTO, very intro product. And then the goal being that that's going to get them the desired result that then they can pay for the next level, which would be our mid-ticket. Then we do some kind of group mastermind and then like a one-on-one coaching. And those one-on-one coachings, by the time they're at that level, they're ready to invest 10, 15, 20,000 with you. Because if you're the one that they're wanting to get time with, your time is valuable. Right? If you got thousands of students, they need to be really paying for that. The other way is subscriptions. And this is what we've done with Power Disc Golf Academy. That's a yearly subscription. We have a 98% retention rate. We keep adding content, keep dripping content, do a lot of community activities. But we know that each month, the following year, last year's revenue will roll over. And that's going to continue to scale year over year, which really helps fight that burnout, helps scale the business aggressively, and keeps cash flowing.
Amazing. Let's jump now back to point 3. We kind of like reverted back to point 1 here. Back into point 3. So when it comes to increasing lifetime value, Mark, what are your favorite ways to do that? You mentioned with the disc golf course, that was a monthly subscription, right?
Yearly subscription.
Yearly, okay.
Yep.
And what are some of your favorite ways to do that? You mentioned you go low ticket to mid ticket. Do you do anything past that, or does it kind of stop there? Or like, what are the other ways that you like to cash in on one customer so that you're not busting your butt to just get more and more and more customers? It's let me deal with my current customer base and just get them to buy more times from me.
Yeah, so the subscription's cool, but I don't think it's as applicable to a lot of courses. It works for the way we have Power DJ set up, but it wouldn't work for other programs. So what we do with the other programs is we get them in really low ticket. Like for Micro Content Mastery, we've got a whole slew of low ticket offers. And then when we do sales, we'll bundle them together for like a super bundle. We get them in for $27 to $97. We give them massive actionable value. And a lot of people say value. I always say massive actionable value because it needs to be something they can clearly and quickly take action on and get a desired result at that low ticket price. And then we transition them into a higher ticket product of like $300 to $800. We get them again, massive actionable value. Then we transition them into like a $3K offer that's for a set period of time, like a group mastermind, group coaching. And then from there, we go to one-on-one coaching and we implement some other add-ons that are sort of done for you system. So we'll build your client acquisition system. We'll build this, we'll build that. The key is to really make sure that it all makes sense with your time as the course creator, because your time's super limited. So whether that's building teams or automating your systems, a lot of people go and they create these ascension ladders, but then they're doing all of the fulfillment. And then basically they're making all this money, but they're trading all of their time for the money. And then they're just as unfulfilled or just as burnt out as they were before. And they're like, this wasn't worth it. So you need to find that balance between increasing customer value and automating these processes so you can not be chained and a slave to the business and you can actually enjoy the business. Because especially if you're coaching people and mentoring people, they can tell if you're just showing up to the call because you have to out of obligation. And those coaching calls are not really going to be good for anybody. But if you show up and you're energized because you as the head of the totem pole only have to show up to 2 calls a month and you've prepped for those calls and you've got other people who can handle those other calls that you don't have to show up to, that makes your time super valuable because people will pay top dollar for it and you're going to show up energized and ready to really make a difference for these people.
So before the call started, you mentioned your 4 main things that you do. You go low ticket offer to mid ticket, and from mid ticket to mastermind, and then mastermind to coaching. Do you want to describe those 4 things? You kind of already hit on low ticket and mid ticket. Those are kind of your more automated offers, hands off, get
totally evergreen,
actionable wins. Yep. Once they get through that, how do you then send them up to mid ticket to mastermind to coaching?
Yeah, so once they've sort of graduated from that mid ticket and they're at a certain revenue goal, we qualify everyone who goes into the next process or the next step. Because the last thing we want is for someone to make a big investment and they're not ready, right? They have to put it on a credit card. Their business is in the position to implement the systems that they need. They don't have the right teams in place. And it's just a disaster, does more harm than good. So we make sure to qualify everyone for our accelerator offer, which is like our mid-ticket or higher ticket, like 3K offer.
Okay.
They have to be at certain revenue goals. They have to be in a certain place in their business. The whole goal of that offer is to get them to a place where they can then ascend to the elite offer. And that's the same thing. They have to be at that elite level where they've got their VAs, they've got their editors, they've got their teams in place, and they're really looking to grow more as a CEO or business leader than like the worker in the business. So really what we're looking to accomplish is hit on everything from the LTO to I'm just starting out and I'm making no money, all the way up to I'm making 30K plus per month and I want to scale to 50K to 100K a month. And slowly, this is a long game. We're not trying to push people through here as fast as we can because we want to get people real results. So we're getting them ready to then seamlessly ascend. And if you can get someone with your LTO to get the desired result, you'll have no problem continuing to invest up the ladder, assuming you're continuing to give them the results.
Well, guys, Mark Cloutier, you guys heard it from here first. That is the secret behind his multiple 6 and 7 figure launches. He's done this multiple times. And the overarching principle here on this last point, guys, is trust. Low ticket offer to mid ticket to mastermind to coaching. The reason people continue to buy from you more and more times is because you got them a win. You got them a result. If you can get them a result once, they know you can get them a result twice. I can't tell you how many people who join our coaching program inside of Course Creator Pro, and they say, whatever the price is, however long it is, I'm in. I want to sign up for it because you guys have gotten me to 10K months. I know you can help me get to 20K months. The trust is there because we've done it one time. So I can't stress enough how important it is to give value, get people a win, focus on that far more than just making money as fast as possible, get people results. And those results will turn into massive amounts of money later on that you can easily monetize through coaching programs, through courses that you can charge for, but you have to show and prove people you can get them results and you can do it for free or for very low price. That's what the whole point of a low ticket offer is. So Mark, man, I really appreciate it. Is there any last minutes advice that you'd give to somebody who, or maybe yourself, if you were talking to yourself 5 years ago, launching your first course, what would you say to that course creator who's just getting started or struggling based on what you know now?
Don't let the imposter syndrome hold you back. We all have imposter syndrome, and I don't think it ever truly goes away. But the reality is you may be like, hey, I'm only a 3 out of 10 in my skill set. I'm not qualified. Well, there's 2 things you can do. You can find someone who is a true expert and partner with them, or you can teach 0 to 2 how to become a 3. And in that process, you'll probably level up to a 4 or 5, and then you can continue that. And the last thing I'd say is just do it, right? Stop waiting till you're ready, because you're never going to feel ready. You just need to go ahead, jump in, make stuff happen. A failure is not a failure if you learn from it and you take what you learn and you get better each time.
Mark Cloutier, there you guys have it. Mark, appreciate taking the time, brother. You rock, keep slaying it. And I'm excited to see your next 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 figure launch that you do inside of Course Creator Pro.
Thanks, brother.